So how was the suite?
Beautiful. All right, let's go because we're going.
Yep, let's rock.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Week 14 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report on the Sports Insanity Network. I'm Mike Rifkin, joined today by Mark Old Ops Guy Halpern. Mark, happy Sunday.
Good morning and happy Sunday to you and everybody out there.
Yes, before we get into today's week, we're going to do a quick thing. We actually have clinching scenarios in Week 14, nothing in the AFC, so this is just strictly the NFC. We'll start with the team who plays tomorrow night. That'd be the Arizona Cardinals. They can get into the playoffs with a win or a tie tomorrow night against the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis, or with a 49ers loss against the Bengals, a Saints loss or tie against the Jets, or a tie between the Panthers and Falcons, which is really interesting. The Green Bay Packers could get in tonight on Sunday Night Football with a win, plus a Saints loss or tie, plus a San Francisco loss against the Bengals, or a Packers win, a Saints loss or tie, a Rams loss or tie. They play tomorrow night against the Cardinals, or 49ers tie. The Packers cannot win the NFC North because the Minnesota Vikings won Thursday night. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers can get in one of two ways. They can win the NFC South with a win against the Buffalo Bills, plus a Saints loss, plus a Panthers loss. They can clinch a playoff berth with a tie, plus a Carolina loss, New Orleans loss. Actually, they can't clinch a berth because the Vikings won, so they can only win the South, so they can't get a wild card. So good job by me on being able to read my own handwriting.
Yes, and if there's no clear victor at the end of this, the two-man sack race will be run in a round-robin type fashion.
Yeah, and so those are the
Movie
three
fans will get that quote.
Those are the three clinching scenarios you could see today and tomorrow, so this week. We're going to start with some sad news. We'll start with Demaryius Thomas, who unfortunately passed away the other night at the age of 33. The family is saying it was seizure related. He would have been 34 on Christmas Day. When I think Demaryius Thomas, there's two things I think of. I think of the pass from Tebow that sparked the whole Tebow mania stuff. And I think of just a solid wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out, he did his job in Denver, and he was really, I don't know if he ever got the credit he deserved, because I don't ever think anyone ever put him, hey, he's the best receiver, or he was just a solid receiver.
He was never a solid number one, unfortunately, because you always take it, but one of the best number two receivers in football over the last few years. I mean, over his career, 723 receptions, 9,700 yards, averaged 13 and a half yards a catch, and adding 63 touchdowns. That's a great, not to mention, Super Bowl victories. That's a great career in any means.
He had a great career in Denver, moved on to Houston and the Jets, and you saw the tweets and posts flying in of not just what a great player he was, but he was a great person off the field. And
yeah, he was a good humanitarian.
Great humanitarian, great guy. He will be missed, and he was I think the saddest part about it is he would have been 34 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He would have been, I mean, the age, gone so young. And, so our thoughts and prayers are with the family and the friends of Demaryius Thomas. The Broncos will honor Demaryius Thomas today with 88 decals on their helmet, and I think 88 is going to be all over the field. I kind of wish they were. I don't know if they're allowed to do it, but I wish they could have all worn 88 today. Maybe they'll do it for warm up or something. But
That would
if
be
they could
nice.
all wear 88, that would have
Nice
been
tribute in some way. Besides
yeah.
doing the sticker
I'm
and
sure
everything
there'll be
else
a
they're doing.
video. And,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm sure there'll be a video and other stuff. So thoughts, prayers, condolences to the family and friends of Demaryius Thomas, gone at the age of 33. Okay, we got through that with no tears, but we'll start with some news of the. We'll start with news, and we'll start in that game because we're going to talk a little bit about the Lions, and not just because they got their first win last week and Dan Campbell finally bit kneecaps off. But the Lions have 6 players on the COVID list. Others are battling the flu, and they're monitoring to see how this outbreak is going. The Lions are in Denver today to play the Broncos. I mean, we all know that outbreaks are gonna happen because they're happening everywhere. This is the first real one of 2021 for a full team in the Detroit Lions.
Yes. As you said, Mike, 6 on the COVID. There's currently 12 battling the flu. Most of the coaches are battling the flu, and they've already pulled 6 players up from their practice squad to be able to. But the whole key is, like you said, is they're waiting on COVID tests this morning to see if anyone else tests positive, and we won't know more on that for about another hour.
Yeah, and you know it's this is not going to turn into a political debate whether you're vaxxed or not vaxxed. This is all about one thing and one thing only. We knew the outbreaks would happen. I'm shocked it took this long for an outbreak to actually happen with one team. I thought we would get more throughout the year, and this is really the first, maybe the second one of. We've seen guys miss games due to COVID, but never 6
a full
at
team
a
like
time.
this.
Yeah, this is the first one that's spread throughout the team. So we'll wait and see what happens with the Lions. They are coming off their first win. They're in Denver playing the Broncos, who are in playoff contention for a wild card. So that's a late game, and that's not a game we're really going to talk about, but it does have some wild card implications for the Broncos. On to the bombshell that dropped yesterday from Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, and it relates to Urban Meyer, because there's a problem in Jacksonville. Color me shocked.
Only a problem?
I know. Only a problem. But Urban Meyer reportedly has players who don't like him. He's gotten into it with coaches. At one point, Marvin Jones left the facility after an argument with Urban Meyer and had to get called back in by assistant coaches. Then during the game last week, James Robinson had his first career fumble. Now, albeit it shouldn't count because Aaron Donald is a freak of nature and forces a fumble on everybody. Urban Meyer then decided to bench James Robinson and putting in Carlos Hyde until Trevor Lawrence came in and said, where's James Robinson? So Urban Meyer, I can't speak for Mark, but I've talked a lot about how I despise the hire. I despise the fact that he's still around, especially after what happened in Cincinnati. This doesn't shock me at all, but it's just you're not going anywhere this year if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have 2 wins. Just fire him now. End it now. and start it fresh next year. Because I'll say this, and then Mark, I'll go to you. I think that's actually a desirable job.
When you look at where he is, I mean, like you said, he's not going anywhere. Urban Meyer, yes, is one of the best college coaches to ever exist. Came to the NFL thinking, I'm finally made it to the show. This is the show. I was in the minor league. Now I'm here. He signed a 4-year deal. I think he'd be a fool to walk after this year, but with all the problems and everything, could he be forced out? That's a possibility. You don't sit your running back even though he wasn't the coach last year, who carried that Jacksonville team last year. James Robinson had a fantastic rookie year and really was undervalued. And then you bench him because he had his first fumble against, like Mike said, Aaron Donald, that if Aaron Donald's face looks at the ball gets scared and jumps out of somebody's hands. And, how do you bench one of the biggest cogs in your engine that makes it run?
And my thing has been this on Robinson is I don't think Urban Meyer believed in James Robinson for the fact of they drafted Travis Etienne in the first round this year when they had other needs.
Right.
And
that
they
made
said,
no sense.
How can we make Trevor Lawrence right? Like how can we make Trevor Lawrence more comfortable? We'll get his running back. We'll draft Etienne, who's been out for the year. Mm-hmm. But still, it's just James Robinson was good for you.
Right.
How about you get some help to protect Trevor Lawrence? How about you do that? I mean, the dude looked like Ronnie Sunshine Bass from Remember the Titans coming into the year. And now he just gets banged up every week. And it's on coaching. I can fault Trevor Lawrence for some of this stuff. Young quarterback, he's still developing. You have to help him. Urban Meyer, it's your job to help him. And this is the difference between college football and the NFL. You are no longer recruiting players, Urban Meyer. You have to be a destination. Jacksonville has to become a destination for players to go to because you can't just say, hey, so-and-so from, Atlanta, Georgia, why don't you come play for me at Ohio State, and you could be winning a national title. You see, part of that's coaching, but part of that is the Ohio State brand. Part of it was the Florida brand. There's no brand in Jacksonville because I don't know if you guys know, they suck. Their brand would have been they were going to the Super Bowl a couple of years because Myles Jack is still not down in New England. But that's a conversation for another day. It's something I don't want to get started. And Blake Bortles would have been in a Super Bowl. Everyone remember, Blake Bortles would have been in the Super Bowl. So you have to figure out, and look, this isn't going to be fixed overnight. This had to be a 2-3 year process. The problem is, I don't think Urban Meyer could last 2 or 3 years. We could talk about the greatest. You got to see, in my mind, the greatest college coach turned pro coach. It was really good, Jimmy Johnson. Mm-hmm. That's who everyone aspires to be like. But if you look currently, that hasn't worked. I look at Nick Saban. Didn't work. And then he goes, I'm not going to take the Alabama. I want to run to Alabama. I just wish Urban Meyer would have been truthful at one point and said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go take the USC job. I wish that would have happened. I wish that would have happened. Because this is I think this team, and Trevor Lawrence in particular, will do better in a sub-urban era. That's what this has. Look, I love Laviska Shenault. Marvin Jones has had a really good year.
Nice bounce
DJ
back
Chark
here.
got hurt. You're right. DJ Chark got hurt. We talked about James Robinson. You got to work on the dudes up front to protect Trevor Lawrence. Then defensively, you just got to get a little bit better defensively. I don't think they're not close to being playoff Super Bowl team. But if you watch some of their games, they're in some of them to the end. And they make 1 to 2 mental mistakes or physical mistakes. And it's just that falls on coaching. That falls on Urban Meyer because you're supposed to teach them. You're supposed to be in this mode where they're good. I didn't think the Jags were going to be any good. I don't think anyone thought the Jags would be any good. But I thought they could at least move the ball a little bit. And they haven't been able to do it in games.
Trevor Lawrence needs more protection up front. That has to be a focus because he's a good young model quarterback. So he had a bad first year. I can tell you a lot of quarterbacks who had a bad first year who went on to Hall of Fame career. Yeah, who went on to Hall of Fame careers. I still expect him to bounce back next year.
I would expect him to bounce back as well. I just, it's time in Jacksonville. You say, you know what? I don't know who the guy is. I don't know who the guy would be for me. I can't sit here and say it's this. To me, and I screamed this last year, I'll scream it again. The guy for me would be Brian Dable, the Bills offensive coordinator. Okay. That would be the guy I would say, you know what? He's not Josh Allen in the terms of bulk. Josh Allen's a big guy. Trevor Lawrence is not small, but he's not as bulky as Josh Allen is. You don't have to worry about really the snow or the rain somewhat, but Trevor Lawrence could throw it down there. You can run James Robinson. I think a guy like Brian Dable's perfect there. Now, whether he wants the job or not, TBD.
That's up to him, yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. You get a young quarterback. You get a young running back, a nice group of receivers. Just hire the right DC and you're good. But we'll wait and see what happens in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer and company. On to Thursday Night Football, which was a game that shouldn't have been a game. The Minnesota Vikings kept their playoff hopes alive with a 36-28 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you, Minnesota Vikings, for helping out the Miami Dolphins. That's all that matters in this game. But Ben Roethlisberger, 28 of 43, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Najee Harris had 94 yards and a touchdown. Don't go chasing. Claypool's had 8 catches and 93 yards. We're going to get to him in a minute because he's a clown shoe, and we'll get into that. On the Vikings side, Kirk Cousins, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Dalvin was cooking on Thursday night. 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. KJ Osborne, son of Ozzy Osbourne, 3 catches, 83 yards and a touchdown. Let's start with the Vikings because we'll get into the Steelers in a minute. This was all about Dalvin Cook. And the Steelers should have known that, especially with the absence of Adam Thielen. Justin Jefferson also had a really good game.
Yes, he did.
But this is what I think the Vikings should be most of the time. This is the Dalvin Cook show. And I know people are going to yell about Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to get into the Kirk Cousins debate because if you listen to the Wishbone Shotgun podcast, which you should, it's a decent podcast. I am on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. I'd probably drive and get more than anybody. I love Kirk Cousins. But if you've got Dalvin Cook doing, there's no reason Dalvin Cook can't get you 70 to 85 yards a game with or without a touchdown. And then he adds in what he does out of the backfield receiving. Kirk Cousins just has to manage the game. The key to the Vikings will always be, with Mike Zimmer, the defense. Because this offense could put up 36 points. Hell, this team was winning 29-0 at halftime, and they let the Pittsburgh Steelers back into this game. And that's after they lost to Detroit last week.
Right.
And by the way, Mike Zimmer, had you lost this game, we would have opened up probably with your firing. I want you to know that, Mike Zimmer. Mark, your thoughts on the Vikings?
The Vikings are a complicated football team. What Dalvin Cook did, separating, he separated his shoulders 11 days ago, not 11 games ago, 11 days ago. And it reminds me, I know, yes, I'm going to Dallas on this, but it reminds me of only one player, and that was Emmitt Smith. When he went down against the Giants and separated his shoulder. The difference was Emmitt Smith went into the locker room and came out in the next half and put up an extra 100 yards on the ground. That's the only difference. Dalvin Cook came in 27-205 and 2 touchdowns. You can't lose if you have one player putting up that type of number. However, Big Ben had a good game in the second half. It's like got to charge up his ass to get him going. But I'm going to let Mike bring up what's coming up, and I'm building towards it. You're under 2 minutes. You're driving down the field, and you're driving down the field successfully, mind you. You're doing a pretty decent job. Yeah, 1 errant or 2 errant throws. It's going to happen. No timeouts, and you're down to roughly 29 seconds. Mike, here you go.
Oh, Chase Claypool, you bonehead, you fool. You don't get up with no timeouts to celebrate a first down. You don't. And that is such a selfish maneuver on your part for a guy who was already benched earlier in the game for, I think it was either unsportsmanlike conduct or unnecessary roughness. He was benched earlier by Mike Tomlin. The Steelers have a culture issue. I can't believe I'm saying that about the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team who's had 3 coaches in 30 years. The Steelers have a cultural issue because this started with Antonio Brown. When he was, he was acting like a bonehead. Tomlin wouldn't put up with it, and eventually they traded him to the Raiders and that stuff. Then we go to Juju. Juju, you're not absolved from this. I know you're hurt. No, I take nothing away from you. But you did the stupid TikTok videos last year. Then you go to Chase Claypool, who earlier in the season, actually wasn't even, it was earlier in the season. It's less than a month ago. He said, you know what make practice more fun? Music. You know what Mike Tomlin said? That's why Chase Claypool plays receiver. Yes, you could have fun, and winning absolves all of that. If you win, everyone loves you. This is a Mike Tomlin problem because Mike Tomlin has allowed this kind of behavior. And I love Mike Tomlin. And I just wrote about this, and you can check that out on www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. We talk about the end when it comes to Big Ben off. And look, Big Ben was really good Thursday night. I still think he should retire.
Yes.
That's conversation for another day. It's time to talk Mike Tomlin. And it's time to I love the Steelers. I love what they represent as an organization, not just in the NFL, but in all of sports. The stability, the accountability that they've thrown around there for a long time. I just don't understand how this can keep happening. I don't get it. Claypool is immensely talented, yes, but decisions like that cost you the game. That play cost you 10 seconds. Ben might have had another chance to throw it into the end zone after the Freiermuth play.
Mm-hmm.
And Chase Claypool says after the game, well, that's my first answer. There is no I in team. There is no I in Steelers. There's not even Chase Claypool. There's not even an I in your name. You're a little bit older than I, and so we can go back. Hines Ward wouldn't have done something like that.
No. You look at players from the past.
I don't even think Plexico Burris does something like that when he was in Pittsburgh.
No.
Bill Cowher would not have put up with that.
That absolutely not at all.
And I think part of this, and yes, I think part of this is the difference in ages now, how the young kids are brought up and brought into this. But a part of that is just leadership. That leaders say, hey, you don't do that. Leaders say, hey, get back in there so we can spike the ball. We get 3 shots at the end zone. Leadership matters. What you do on the field matters. And I was having this conversation with a Steelers fan last night at the Islander game I went to. By the way, the Islanders, you owe me. That was your first home win. I'm taking credit for it. It's time maybe to blow this thing up a little bit. Blow it up with Ben, blow it up with Mike Tomlin, and say, hey, there are several pieces here that can net us something. Because I think in their minds, this is how they're going to replace Ben. And I think it's the wrong thing. They're going to trade draft picks or something. They're either going to trade draft picks for a Matt Ryan, maybe Garoppolo, unless they're going to think they can get Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. It's a whole nother conversation.
Russell Wilson we'll talk about later. Another time.
Well, I mean, we could lump him in now because he said he would take a trade to the Saints, the Giants, or the Broncos, according to a report.
And quickly on Russell Wilson, I am calling it now. He signs with the New York Giants.
I think the same thing. I think he winds up. If he is not a New York Giant, and the Giants don't wind up with, let me be realistic here. The Giants are not going to wind up with Aaron Rodgers. That, to me, is a foregone conclusion. If the Giants can't land Russell Wilson, there is another way the Giants can go. So I don't want to say all is gone.
Right.
The Giants, if they can't land Russell Wilson, should make a play on Deshaun Watson.
At that point, if they should get Russell, yes.
If they can't, my top target would be Russell Wilson. But if you can't get him, I understand. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm saying now, it can't be. You think you can win, so you're going to wind up with Matt Ryan. Argument's sake, Matt Ryan. You're not better than the Baltimore Ravens because the Ravens, guess what? They're going to get healthy next year. The Cincinnati Bengals, they're better than what I thought. I think they're better than what you thought. I don't think they're going anywhere. Cleveland, who's the most underachieving 6-6 team or 7-6 team, wherever they are. They should be better depending on what they do at quarterback.
Mhm.
So you're gonna try to trade for Matt Ryan or Jimmy G or the other one that I thought of the other night. You're gonna sign Baker Mayfield. You're gonna stick it to Cleveland by signing Baker, which that's high risk, high reward for you if you want to
Yeah.
do it. The thing for me is I think those three other teams I mentioned are better than you. And I think the Steeler fan base would understand, hey, if you got to go through a 2-3 year rebuild, we understand. You are the stand outside of the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been the standard bearer in the AFC. Forget the AFC, the entire league. They're up there with the Patriots, the Packers, the Ravens. Those are probably the four standard bearers over the last 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time for some changes in Pittsburgh. And we talk about Ben, but Mike Tomlin deserves some blame too. Chase Claypool, you're a bonehead. And it is what it is. Look, I'm going to say this. I disqualified the Steelers from any playoff conversation once they tied with the Lions. That should automatically disqualify you. This is the loss right here. Listen, you want to pump your chest out after you beat the Ravens? Cool, fine, you beat the Ravens. You can't bounce back like that. You can't be down 29-0 against a team. I'll be honest, I think you're better than the Minnesota Vikings. I think you should be better than the Vikings. But the Minnesota Vikings, I think you should have known what was coming. You knew they were going to force feed Dalvin Cook. You knew the ball was going to Justin Jefferson. You should know what Mike Zimmer brings you defensively because he was a DC in Cincinnati for years.
Right.
You looked like an unprepared football team. And I'm going to shout out Ryan Clark of ESPN because former Steeler, he called you guys out for it Friday. So kudos to Ryan Clark on that. Also, you can check out my article at www.thesportssettingnetwork.com. Comment, let me know what you think. We're going to dive into today's action now. We're going to start with the battle in the NFC least because it's a doozy and it's actually a big game. Mark's beloved Dallas Cowboys travel to D.C. to play the football team who've won 4 in a row. Now, there are going to be 2 parts of this we're going to discuss, 3 parts of this we're going to discuss. But I want you to know, because I don't know if you saw this, the Cowboys flew in their own benches for this game. The Cowboys
BYOB,
flew in
baby.
their own benches. Way to go, Jerry. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy guaranteed a win. Was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, so Wednesday, Mike McCarthy says we're going to win this game. Why? Why, Mike McCarthy? Do you like it? I don't like it.
Look, it's a bold, risky statement, especially 5 days before a game, that you're going to come out and say this. But it makes me flash back to 1993. Jimmy Johnson stating when they were going out to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, we will win this game. Dallas did just that. Now, it's 2 different scenarios, obviously. I mean, we're not talking the Super Bowl going to we win, we go to the Super Bowl. However, this is a very big divisional game for Dallas because Dallas hasn't faced the football team as of yet.
And
Dallas,
if they win, you can basically assure they're going to win the NFC.
If the Dallas wins the NFC East and least, if they win today and win next week, no matter what, because Dallas faces Washington this week, and I believe It's either the Giants or Arizona next
I think
week.
it's the Giants next week.
Right. And then Arizona, then back to Washington and Philadelphia to end it. And this is a prime spot for Dallas to take off. If they want to try to get that first round bye, yes, that Arizona game isn't going to be easy. And Arizona is going to be playing for the same thing Dallas is. So both teams have something to venture when that comes up. But if Dallas wants a shot at that first round bye, they got to try to win out. And that's going to be easier said than done when facing the Cardinals, and then got to play Washington twice. Screw the Giants. They don't matter. And the Eagles are
They don't matter, especially if Mike Lennon's going to keep quarterback. That's something I can rant on later, but
And the Eagles really don't know who they are, so we can forget about them. So
yeah.
This Washington game is the game for Dallas right now.
Okay, so I hate what Mike McCarthy said because it sounded like desperation. Because to me, I think the Dallas Cowboys should know they're the better football team. Yeah, you want to pump your guys up and give them stuff, but you don't say that to the media. You know why? Because you know who's going to hear about this? Ron Rivera. And listen, I would run through a wall for Ron Rivera. I think Ron Rivera's players would run through a wall for Ron Rivera. If you've seen how Washington's played the past couple of weeks. We had them dead and buried a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And they have, like the Undertaker, they've sat up and they've worked their butts off and they put themselves in a prime position.
Heineke gets a Heineke.
So Mike McCarthy, you said desperate. But you know what else, Mike McCarthy, I wonder? I wonder if you're watching your back, Mike McCarthy, because you didn't coach last week against the New Orleans Saints. You had COVID. Dan Quinn won a game for the Dallas Cowboys. Dan Quinn is undefeated as Dallas Cowboys head coach. If you lose this game, Mike McCarthy, I don't think anyone in the world would say if the Washington football team wins this game, argument's sake, 27-10 or 27-17, but it's not that close. What's to talk about tomorrow? Mike McCarthy guaranteed a win, and his team didn't show up, or his team got
out the door,
obliterated.
Yeah,
well, and Jerry won't take that. Jerry's like, "Oh, Dan Quinn, come on down. You're going to be the interim coach the rest of the year." There is so much. I think the hardest job in the NFL is being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I think that is being the manager of the New York Yankees. Bill Belichick are the two. Exactly the same thing. Because you're trying to appease the fan base, but you're also trying to appease the overbearing owner, who is honestly, and I say this with all due respect, Jerry Jones overshadows the Dallas Cowboys a bit. Because he's always there. He's always talking. He's always this. I'm not comparing the two. I'm going to compare the two for a minute. Yes, Robert Kraft can talk and he has his spots on radio and stuff like that. But Robert Kraft doesn't overshadow what Bill Belichick does. He lets Bill Belichick take care of what he's got to do. And that's what the New England Patriots are so good at. I'll come to you because you're the Cowboy fan. There's a part of me that believes Jerry's ego got crushed a little bit with Jimmy Johnson. And that's what sparked the whole issue. And that's when Jerry fired Jimmy and stuff happened. I wonder now what would happen in a city, because I don't think Jerry would ever hire another Jimmy, a guy who can kind of overshadow what he wants.
Jerry Jones is a narcissist. Look, and I mean that as nice as I can say it. I am the diehard Cowboy fan. Look, he's a brilliant businessman.
Yes.
I'm 100%. Never going to take that away from him. He is a brilliant businessman. He's been a good owner. He's tried putting winning teams on the field, but you're right. it's not the coach's shadow they're seeing on that sideline. It's Jerry Jones, because when they all know at the end of the day, it's Jerry Jones who's signing their paychecks. So why be feared of the coach when you have something else to be feared even more above it? Levels of fear play hard. And sorry.
No, you can finish your point, because then I just want to move really quickly.
Yeah, no, and this week is a very big week. We've said it. And all I know is Zeke Elliott's going to have a full game today, as Tony Pollard, I do not think, will play.
That scares me. That scares me because I know how banged up Zeke is.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this a little bit on Wishbone the other night. I think you're in a position. I know this is a big game. I know it's a divisional game. I'm at the point with Zeke, and this is not due to productivity. I need Zeke to get healthy. And that's why I think we talked about this last week too. You need Zeke to get healthy. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to have him sit out a game or two to just rest his knee.
If Dallas clinches,
I know now
in 2 weeks,
I know now they played Thursday and they played last Thursday. They're playing today, so he's had some time to heal up. But he doesn't look like Zeke.
No.
The other guy who doesn't look like himself recently is Dak Prescott. And
since the calf injury,
part of me wonders if he's still hurt. And Jerry could say, "Oh, it's the receivers that are running the wrong routes." Well, that's fine, Jerry. And I love Dak. I have no beefs with Dak. I just wonder a little bit about his calf.
Since the calf injury, he's only put up about 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And that is un-Dak-like when he started off the season so hot.
And he's missing some of these throws too. He's missed on a lot.
Mind you, look, yet again, excuses are like AH's. Everybody has one. I'm going to make it very simple. Dallas was down Cooper for 3 weeks, Lamb for 2 weeks. They just got back Gallup, who's watching off the rust. I don't like making excuses. Tony and Zeke are injured. I don't like making excuses. But let's make it easy and decidable that this game falls on Dak Prescott. Yeah. He's got to go out there and lead this game and win this game today.
Okay, so we're going to move. This is the last thing about this game, then we'll move on.
Yep.
I'm going to Washington for a second. Has Taylor Heineke proved to you enough that he should be the Washington quarterback next season?
Without question.
Okay. I'm in agreement. So if they want to go out and add, argument's sake, a Teddy Bridgewater for competition, fine. I don't have a problem with that. Taylor Heineke should be your front runner.
Yes.
But that's a conversation for another day. We'll wait to see that game. All right. Another game we're going to talk about is a battle in the AFC West, which sees Derek Carr and the Raiders traveling to KC to play Mahomes and the Chiefs. Last time it wasn't a game. And I don't think this time it's going to be much of a game either. I love the Chiefs.
I don't know. I'm liking the Raiders here for some reason.
You know what? And I love what the Raiders have done all year. And they fought through the adversity of John Gruden. And they fought through certain other adversities.
Right.
The thing that I wonder about is it been too much? And I looked at this Chiefs team. They're playing defense now. They're finally playing some defense. Mahomes hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 2 weeks, guys.
Right.
This Chiefs offense is going to explode today. They're going to erupt. So, you have any Chiefs on your fantasy teams? I would start them. Not that you wouldn't regardless.
Correct.
But
and if you have Josh Jacobs,
me,
start him too. He's going to have 150 yards on the ground today. I don't know why. This divisional matchup has always been a good one throughout the years that we all have watched. Raiders Chiefs. I mean, hard hitting, exciting, fun football.
One of the best rivalries in all of football. Rivalries is something we'll talk about in a few minutes. Okay, so you think the Raiders can pull it off?
I just smell an upset here. And if the Raiders beat the Chiefs and the Chargers beat the Giants, which is the foregone conclusion, there'll be a tie in the AFC West between the Chargers and the Chiefs. With the Chargers.
And the Chargers ahead because they got the head-to-head win.
Yep.
And by the way, spoiler alert, Chargers Chiefs is the Thursday night game next week.
Oh my gosh. What and the man?
Yeah. That should be fun. So.
Oh yeah.
I like the Chiefs. He likes the Raiders, and that should be a good game. Okay, so we're gonna stay within division play. We're gonna go to some have dubbed it the best rivalry in NFL history, and that's fine. It's Yankees Red Sox. It's Duke Carolina. It's Bears Packers.
Yes.
And that's your Sunday night game, and Chris Collinsworth will tell you he loves everyone. Now, again, the Packers can clinch a playoff berth tonight. They cannot clinch the North because the Vikings win. But a Packers win plus a New Orleans loss or tie plus a San Francisco loss, or a win plus New Orleans loss or tie, Rams loss, and San Francisco ties. The Packers are in the playoffs. We're not going to talk the
you
Packers
have to have just watched that. Bring Mike on for him to explain playoff scenarios.
Yeah, we're going to deep dive the Bears because the Bears have activated Justin Fields. He's going to play tonight.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I like what Justin Fields has, and I've seen enough. This Bears team, I think, is very disappointing as a whole. And for me, it's not because, their defense is still – it's not the championship caliber defense it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's the ineptitude of Matt Nagy that bothers me. Yes. I watch David Montgomery play. David Montgomery, to me, could be a top 10 running back in the NFL. Should be. Just get him the ball. I don't care if it's screens. I don't care if you're running them. Get him the ball. Listen, I'm not knocking Darnell Mooney. The kid could be good. He's not a number one. They're lacking a number one receiver. They're lacking talent. How do you expect to develop a young quarterback with the lack of talent around? I mean, argument's sake, we just talked about the Cowboys and we talked about the Chiefs. Well, Dak has CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Pollard and Zeke, Dalton Schultz. That's let's not get into Mahomes is Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, DeMarcus Robinson, Josh Allen. The Bills saw what they had in Josh Allen. What did they do? Oh, hey, Stephon Diggs, sup. Hey, Emmanuel Sanders, sup. Gabe Davis, we're going to draft you, sup. Cole Beasley, we're going to sign you, sup. If there's one thing that Chicago Bears have to do this offseason, and there's a lot of things the Bears have to do this offseason. One, get a real head coach because Matt Nagy's a puppet. But two, and most importantly, get Justin Fields some weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to rant on Matt Nagy deserving to be fired. I will not rant about the GM deserving to be fired. get Justin Fields some help. That's all I'm going to say.
And I
You have
totally
anything you
agree
want
with
to
you.
add?
You said it perfectly.
All right. Also, for the Packers, just a note: no Randall Cobb underwent core muscle surgery. He's out indefinitely.
Correct.
So, no corn on the cob for Aaron Rodgers tonight. Okay. The 425, probably the the Nance Romo game, has Josh Allen and the Bills taking on Tom Brady and the Bucs.
What a football game.
They should be fun. Bucs and their secondary issues. The Buffalo Bills are fighting for a playoff spot. Are words I didn't think I'd talk about this year because I thought it was a foregone conclusion. And I love Sean McDermott, and I love Brandon Beane, and I love Josh Allen. The downfall right now of the Buffalo Bills is their lack of a running game. That's their downfall. And I don't know what you thought of Monday night. I don't. But, Dawson Knox had a rough night. Diggs was all right. Their running backs can't bounce it. It's a problem.
Buffalo was primed from the start of this season to be the front runner to go to the Super Bowl. And they started out hot.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is doing Bill Belichick things. And it's bringing along Mac Jones beautifully and has done a great job to make the Bills, now actually have to try a little bit. Bills haven't had an easy schedule over the last few weeks. We're not going to include that Jacksonville game because that they should have won.
Yep.
They've had a rough schedule, and today's game is not any easier.
Nope.
But with the number one defense in football that they have, if they can pressure Brady, they can get a very big win that they need here. They have to win this game. But Brady is 32-3 versus the Bills.
Yeah.
If I'm a betting man, which I am, I'm taking Brady and the Bucs in this, even though I know it's a Bills must win.
I've learned not to bet against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Unless he's playing the Dolphins in Miami, I've learned not to bet against Tom Brady.
Or Atlanta.
So, listen, Josh Allen can have a day because the Bucs secondary, we all know. Because this is the first game they're really playing because the New England game counts, but Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
The Trey White absence can loom large in this game.
Well, the Tre'Davious White losing for the Bills for the next few weeks.
That's it. I don't know if he would have been on Godwin's or Evans. Don't know, but that's interesting to me.
Right.
Piece of news here from Field Yates of ESPN. Saints defensive end Cam Jordan will miss his first career game today as he's on the COVID-19 list. He has played in 172 games to begin his career, longest active streak of any position player in the NFL, and played 85% of the snaps in those games.
Cam.
So no Cameron Jordan today for the Saints against the Jets. I mean, if you're a Zach Wilson fan, be happy.
You're getting down on your knees and you're thanking God.
A lot of playoff scenarios in the NFC revolving a Saints loss. It'll help the Cardinals, it would help the Packers, and it would help the Bucs. So the Bucs can win the NFC South today with a win, Saints loss, and a Carolina loss.
And Eric, you better be cheering and yelling.
For all.
Yeah. Dan and Eric, we better hear you.
All right, and last game we're going to talk about is the Monday night game, and it's a battle in the NFC best. It's the Rams, it's the Cardinals. I want to come at it like this way because we had this conversation. I feel in my heart of hearts this is a must-win game for the Los Angeles Rams of St. Louis.
Yes,
because every big game they have played, except for one, They have looked bad. And whether that's a Sean McVay problem, I don't think it's a Matthew Stafford problem. I love Matthew Stafford. You have to win this game. One, to help yourself with the division, gain a game. But two, and more importantly, confidence-wise. Confidence. Because I don't want to see Matthew Stafford struggle in the playoffs. I want to see Matthew Stafford succeed. I want to see Matthew Stafford win. I'm pulling for Matthew Stafford.
I loved it when he was traded to LA.
Yeah, me too.
But this is a
my
game.
problem with the Rams recently, and yeah, they dominate the Jaguars, but I could get a group of sixth graders to probably dominate the Jaguars. I'm not going there. Not going there. I think the Rams, I think, got that Laker vibe to them, to the point where we're going to add star after star with Odell Beckham and Von Miller. And I think they're a little bit too arrogant. I'm going to use the word arrogant and saying we're putting more talent on the field than you are. Here's the problem with that now. The Arizona Cardinals have plenty to be arrogant about as well. Because Kyler Murray, he's still in that MVP conversation.
Absolutely.
D-Hop is still D-Hop. I mean, we
you
got
look at the weapons on that
some
team.
players here.
Yes.
Oh, this should be a great game.
It's going to be a fantastic ball game. And you're talking about the LA offense against the Cardinals defense, and then vice versa. It's a great matchup on both ends of the ball.
Really is. And Andrew Whitworth, I think, will be the first offensive lineman or such to play at the age of 40, something like that. Double check that really quick. But I mean, this should be a great game Monday night. I can't right now. I can't bet against the Cardinals. So Andrew Whitworth turns 40 years old on Sunday. Monday night against the Cardinals, he'll become the first 40-year-old to start at left tackle in NFL history. So first off, happy birthday, Andrew Whitworth. We know you're listening, and congratulations. All right. So you like the Cardinals as well?
Unfortunately, yeah.
All right.
It's very, very tough call, but I like the Cardinals by 3.
Listen, I think if the Rams can lose on a last-second field goal or something, you could take some confidence out of that.
Yes.
All right. So we talked a little bit about COVID before. We have some news from Ian Rappaport. Texans running back David Johnson is on the COVID list. To be fair, the Texans don't count as a team anymore, and they are clearly tanking because Davis Mills is starting the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother conversation that I don't want to get into. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on a blog about the Texans, but that's a conversation for another day. There are two other quick games before we dive into the 5. Ravens Browns. I think it's a must win for the Browns. Do you agree?
Yes. Or they're done.
Look, I'm going to be brutally honest. I think they're done either way. I don't like the Browns.
When I meant done, I meant done as a playoff wildcard chance. That's all.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I just think this is my challenge for the week. Baker Mayfield, I'm challenging you. You want to make money? You want to make real quarterback money? You have to go out and win out. You have to win out and will this team to a playoff spot. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck making that progressive money.
Mhm.
And the only other game I want to quickly bring up, Bengals 49ers, huge playoff
For
implications,
Cincinnati.
and also a Super Bowl rematch. I don't remember which one, but
Oh, it was in the
Boomer
mid-'80s.
Esiason against Joe Montana.
Mid-'80s. You know, you look at the two teams. You got Cincinnati and you got San Francisco. Cincinnati, you know, was off to a hot start and then lost a few key games and then have come back and then have gone down. You know, to me, Cincinnati has to win this game, and not just by a field goal. They have to come out and show they can still be the offense they were when the season started. Jamar Chase has to get more involved. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, they all have to start going off. Joe Mixon's got to do better than 40 yards rushing. So to me, this is a Cincinnati team that needs to win.
They need to win convincingly. I'm with you because of the performance that they put on last week. And Jamar Chase, especially because that Burrow interception that was in his hands, I thought was the difference in the game until the Mixon fumble.
Right.
I like the Niners. I like the way the Niners have no secondary, but I love the way they've gone out for Kyle Shanahan. I think the Bengals will win the game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Niners win, and they'll get Deebo Samuel back today as well. On to the five.
One quick thing,
Go
Mike,
ahead.
just as a report coming out of San Francisco. Jeff Wilson will be the starting running back for them today as Moore is
Elijah
out.
Mitchell's out.
Mitchell, not Moore. Sorry, my bad. Elijah Mitchell is out and will not play due to concussion.
All right, so you'll see Jeff Wilson. You'll see a lot of
He can
Jermichael
put up
Hasty,
some numbers,
I would
though.
bet as well. Yeah.
He can put up some numbers.
And listen, you're going to see a lot of Deebo. If Deebo Samuel's back, you're going to see a lot of him in the backfield too, because that's been the new thing for the Niners.
Yep.
On to the five. We'll start with the five best rivalries in the NFL, and I just put that out there with the Raiders, Chiefs, Packers, Bears, and Ravens, Browns all playing today. I wrote Ravens, Browns in there because it's old Browns versus new Browns. So, Mark, your five best rivalries in the NFL.
Three of them are happening today. The Raiders and the Chiefs, the Packers and the Bears, and Dallas versus Washington. They go back a long time. But I know Mike is going to be very happy with this fourth one. The Miami Dolphins versus New England Patriots. I will watch those games anytime because something exciting always happens in those games. So, and then my final one, San Francisco, Seattle.
Okay, so I have the three you mentioned. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I think that's the best rivalry in football today.
That's actually, yeah.
It's physical. It's nasty. It's beautiful. It's a street fight on a football field. So, and the other one I brought up, and I think it's a little, I don't want to say it's underrated, but I love the Raiders and the Broncos when they get together. But I loved it more when it was the Oakland Raiders, more than it's Vegas, because there was something special about Oakland and the people of Oakland and the way they'd come out for their team. And that's a great one.
The way they dressed
Rams,
up.
Niners over the years has been a great one. Yeah. I liked your call of Niners Seahawks too, because I just remember the NFC title game where Richard Sherman goes, "That Crabtree, he a sorry receiver." Oh man. If we were gonna do individual rivalries, Josh Norman and Odell Beckham would have been on the list.
Absolutely. That would have been at the top. I'm like, listen, Andre Rison and Deion Sanders would have been up there.
All right. The other the other five-part list we're doing, the five most intriguing storylines down the stretch. Player, coach on the hot seat, or something you could think of. Mark, go ahead.
Okay. So number one, Nagy will be fired along with the rest of the Chicago coaching staff. Will be let go at the end of this season, no matter what happens. Number 2, Russell Wilson will leave Seattle and will be a New York Giant. I am 100% confident on that. How far do the Patriots really go? Is a story that is starting to brew and is scary because I'm sorry, I don't want to face anybody by the name of Belichick in the playoffs ever.
I think the rest of the AFC is in agreement.
Yeah. If the 49ers lose today to the Bengals, will Trey Lance finish out the season? Do they finally give him a shot to prove the reason why they drafted him and give him the chance to show and prove why he should be a front runner for next season? And my last one, the New York Giants and the New York Jets, if the season were to end today, they each own 2 picks in the top 10 of next year's NFL draft. That means 40% of the top 10 is coming to New York. What a story for the Jets and the Giants at a time really needed. So those are my stories.
And I think one thing that was interesting was Philly had 2 in the top 10 up until last week. So it would have been all down the Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't put Nagy down because I think that's a foregone conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
My number 1 is Baker Mayfield because I think Cleveland thinks they can. I think Cleveland thinks they're better than what they've played like, and I think they can, if they wanted to go Russell Wilson shopping or so on. I think they would think that than paying Baker more than $40 million. Number 2, you talk New England, no one wants to play them. I wouldn't want to play the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh, that's a good point.
I think that's the team right now. If they don't let them in. Don't let that.
They're on a bye this week, so they're going to get a good rest.
They're on a bye. I mean, the way they're going, that's a really, really good football team. Number 3 is someone we talked about before, Mike McCarthy. You called out a guarantee to win today. Argument saying, I don't think this happens. But if you could foresee it, let's say Washington wins today. Washington, they do some stuff and they find their way and they win the East. And Dallas is out. They don't get a wild card. Mike McCarthy's
he'd be gone, absolutely. Dude. See, here's the problem, though. Yes, I would drop kick Mike McCarthy out of the state of Texas. The problem is Kellen Moore, I don't think is going to stay in Dallas. He's going to be offered a head coaching job somewhere, and he's going to take it. So, as much as, I'd drop kick the man out of Texas, I still wait till the end of the season and see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. If they miss.
But it's going to have to, it's going to have to wait and see on what Kellen Moore does.
Yeah. So that's 3. 4, Taylor Heineke. We talked about, we think he's proven enough to be the starting quarterback in Washington. Keep going, brother. Keep going. You know what? Maybe Taylor Heineke, if you could lead Washington back to the playoffs, you're going to be so popular in Washington, they may put you in the White House.
Be better than what we got there now.
That's another conversation, but
wrong timing.
The last one's the Bills. I'm interested in the Bills because of this. We all thought foregone conclusion they're winning the AFC East, and they've dominated the teams they're supposed to dominate. But they have this kind of the only game they've gone out and said, you know what, we're going to kick ass against the team we're maybe not better, is the game in Kansas City. And I don't think they've been the same team since they've won that game in KC. Go out, beat the Bucs, find your way in. And if you find your way in, you're going to be hard to beat also. But I'm watching the Bills. I just wonder what would happen if the Bills missed the playoffs.
We would be
So I'm not
talking Nathan Moser
saying
down
that.
off the tallest bridge there is.
Uh, I'm not saying it. We're live streaming, but Moser, if you're listening, and I know you are, actually, you know what? Screw it, Moser. If this happens and the Bills miss the playoffs, I don't know what you're gonna do. You might as well just become a whole Washington sports fan, except for the Nats. Screw those guys. All right. The other one, we talked about it earlier, the Steelers. I'm watching the Steelers. I think it's time for a change. You can check that article out, www.thesportscitynetwork.com. You can check out my work. You can check out Mark's work. You can check out everyone at the network's work. Check out the podcast, anchor.com, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to SIN Sunday Sideline Report. For Mark Halpern, I'm Mike Rifkin. Enjoy the Sunday slate of football, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week, and namaste.